The Great Depression was a period of unprecedented economic hardship, a time when the very fabric of society seemed to unravel. It gripped the United States and the world throughout the 1930s, leaving no corner of the globe untouched by its devastating effects. This era of despair began with the stock market crash of 1929, a catastrophic event that sent shockwaves through the global economy. It quickly spiraled into a decade of poverty, unemployment, and social upheaval, affecting millions of lives and altering the course of history. The crash exposed underlying weaknesses in the American economy, revealing the fragility of a system built on speculation and over-reliance on credit. It revealed the devastating consequences of speculation and over-reliance on credit, as banks failed and people lost their life savings overnight. This tumultuous period saw the rise of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a beacon of hope for a nation in despair. He promised a New Deal to lift the nation out of despair, a comprehensive plan to restore confidence and rebuild the economy. The New Deal was a series of programs and reforms, each designed to address different aspects of the crisis. They were designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform, aiming to stabilize the economy and provide immediate assistance to those in need. They aimed to address the immediate needs of the suffering millions, offering jobs, food, and hope to a desperate population. The New Deal also sought to create a more stable and equitable society for the future, laying the groundwork for long-term economic security. The Great Depression was a time of immense suffering, with families torn apart and communities struggling to survive. But it also fostered a spirit of resilience, innovation, and social responsibility, as people came together to support one another and rebuild their lives. The New Deal, though imperfect, marked a turning point in American history, demonstrating the power of government intervention in times of crisis. It redefined the role of government in the lives of its citizens, establishing a precedent for future generations. It laid the foundation for a more active role for the government in promoting economic security and social welfare, principles that continue to guide policy today. The lessons learned from the Great Depression continue to resonate today, reminding us of the importance of vigilance and preparedness. They serve as a reminder of the importance of responsible financial practices, social safety nets, and government intervention in times of crisis, ensuring that we do not repeat the mistakes of the past. The legacy of the New Deal is evident in many aspects of American life, from labor rights to social security and financial regulation. Its impact on labor rights, social security, and financial regulation continue to shape the nation today, ensuring a more just and equitable society for all. October 29, 1929, is etched in history as Black Tuesday. This day marked the catastrophic crash of the stock market, a day that would forever change the course of American history. It signaled the beginning of the Great Depression, a period of severe economic hardship that lasted for over a decade. Years of reckless speculation and overvalued stocks culminated in a panic. Investors had been buying stocks on margin, borrowing money to purchase shares, which only amplified the disaster when prices began to fall. Investors rushed to sell their shares, but there were few buyers. The market was flooded with sell orders, and prices plummeted. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted, wiping out billions of dollars in wealth. Fortunes were lost in a matter of hours, and the financial stability of countless individuals and businesses was shattered. The crash wasn't just a Wall Street problem. It had far-reaching consequences that affected every corner of the nation. It sent shockwaves throughout the American economy. Factories closed, businesses failed, and millions of people lost their jobs. Banks, heavily invested in the stock market, faced massive losses and began to fail. People rushed to withdraw their savings, leading to bank runs and further financial instability. Businesses, deprived of credit and consumer demand, were forced to lay off workers or shut down entirely. The ripple effects of the crash were felt in every industry. The crash shattered confidence in the American economy. People who had once felt secure in their financial futures were now filled with fear and uncertainty. Fear and uncertainty gripped the nation. Soup kitchens and bread lines became common sights as people struggled to feed their families. People who had once felt prosperous suddenly found themselves facing financial ruin. Homes were lost, and families were torn apart by the stress of economic hardship. The middle class, which had enjoyed the fruits of the Roaring Twenties, was hit particularly hard. The dream of upward mobility was shattered for many. The stock market crash of 1929 exposed the fragility of the economic system. It revealed the dangerous consequences of unchecked speculation and the interconnectedness of the global economy. It revealed the dangerous consequences of unchecked speculation and the interconnectedness of the global economy. The effects of the crash were felt worldwide, leading to a global economic downturn. The crash marked a turning point in American history. It shattered the illusion of prosperity and ushered in an era of unprecedented hardship. It shattered the illusion of prosperity and ushered in an era of unprecedented hardship. The Great Depression would leave a lasting impact on the nation and its people. The events of Black Tuesday served as a stark reminder of the importance of financial regulation, responsible investment practices, and the need for a safety net to protect citizens during economic downturns. The New Deal programs introduced by President Franklin D. Roosevelt aimed to provide relief, recovery, and reform to a nation in crisis. The stock market crash of 1929 was just the beginning of the Great Depression's devastating impact. The crisis quickly spread from Wall Street to Main Street, affecting every aspect of American life. The collapse of the banking system was particularly devastating. Banks, having lost their investments in the stock market, were unable to provide loans to businesses and individuals. This credit crunch crippled the economy. Businesses, starved for capital, were forced to cut back on production, lay off workers, and even shut down altogether. As unemployment soared, consumer spending plummeted, further deepening the economic crisis. With millions out of work, families struggled to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. Evictions and foreclosures became commonplace. The agricultural sector, already struggling with falling crop prices, was hit hard by the Dust Bowl. Years of drought and unsustainable farming practices turned fertile land into a wasteland. Farmers, unable to grow crops or sell their produce, were forced to abandon their farms and migrate west in search of work and a better life. The Great Depression was a time of immense social upheaval. The traditional social order was shaken as unemployment and poverty soared. Families were torn apart as men traveled long distances in search of work, leaving their wives and children behind. Soup kitchens and bread lines became a common sight in cities across America. Section 4, Breadlines and Dust Bowls, Poverty Grips the Nation. The Great Depression brought widespread poverty and suffering to the United States. Millions of Americans found themselves unemployed and struggling to survive. Breadlines, a symbol of this desperate era, stretched for blocks as people waited patiently for a meager meal. Soup kitchens run by charities and churches provided what sustenance they could to the hungry masses. The Dust Bowl, a natural disaster exacerbated by human actions, compounded the misery. Years of drought and unsustainable farming practices had stripped the topsoil, leaving it vulnerable to wind erosion. Massive dust storms known as black blizzards swept across the Great Plains, burying homes, crops, and livestock under a thick layer of dust. Farmers, their livelihoods destroyed, packed their meager belongings and migrated west, hoping for a better life in California and other states. These migrants, often called Okies, regardless of their actual origin, faced discrimination and hardship on the road and in their new homes. Children suffered immensely during the Great Depression. Malnutrition and disease were rampant. Many children went without proper clothing, shoes, or medical care. Education was often cut short as children were forced to work to help support their families. The psychological toll of the Depression was profound. It left an indelible mark on an entire generation. Section 5, A New Deal, FDR's Promise of Hope. In 1932, amidst the despair of the Great Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected President of the United States. The nation was in dire straits, with unemployment rates soaring and countless families struggling to make ends meet. Roosevelt, promising a new deal for the American people, ushered in an era of unprecedented government intervention in the economy and social welfare. His vision was to restore hope and rebuild the nation from the ground up. His New Deal programs aimed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. These three pillars were designed to address the immediate needs of the people, stimulate economic growth, and implement long-term changes to prevent future crises. Relief efforts focused on providing immediate assistance to the millions suffering from unemployment and poverty. Soup kitchens and bread lines became lifelines for many, offering a glimmer of hope in dark times. The Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC, put young men to work on conservation projects, providing them with income and job skills. These projects not only helped the environment but also instilled a sense of purpose and pride in the participants. The Works Progress Administration, or WPA, employed millions in construction, infrastructure, and arts programs, creating jobs and stimulating the economy. From building roads and bridges to creating beautiful murals, the WPA left a lasting legacy. Recovery programs sought to revive the economy and put Americans back to work. These initiatives were crucial in rebuilding the nation's infrastructure and boosting industrial production. The Agricultural Adjustment Act, or AAA, aimed to raise crop prices by paying farmers to reduce production. This helped stabilize the agricultural sector, which had been hit hard by the Depression. The National Recovery Administration, or NRA, encouraged businesses to cooperate in setting fair prices and wages. This was an effort to create a more balanced and fair economy, ensuring that workers were treated justly. Reform measures addressed the underlying causes of the Depression and sought to prevent future economic crises. These reforms were essential in creating a more stable and resilient financial system. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, was established to regulate the stock market and prevent fraud. This was a critical step in restoring trust in the financial markets. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, insured bank deposits, restoring confidence in the banking system. This measure ensured that people's savings were protected, reducing the fear of bank failures. The New Deal was a bold experiment in government activism. It represented a significant shift in how the government interacted with its citizens, taking on a more active role in ensuring their well-being. It fundamentally transformed the relationship between the government and its citizens. The New Deal laid the foundation for modern social welfare programs and set a precedent for future government interventions in times of crisis.